Nintendo Switch is an amazing handheld, but one of the biggest things that bothers me is the ergonomics. It's just not very comfortable to hold for long periods of time, but not only that, there is no D-pad on the Joy-Con as well. Now the Joy-Cons make sense because you're supposed to be able to use the left Joy-Con as another controller, but if you're trying to play a 2D game with the Joy-Cons, it's kind of hard because of their buttons. Now that's where the Nitro Deck comes in. Cracked has developed the Nitro Deck to be, well, a replacement to the Joy-Cons, but is it really a good replacement of the Joy-Cons? Before we get into that, don't forget to like and subscribe. I am trying to hit 500 subscribers. I'm so close on it, so definitely every subscriber does help, as well as share the channel. If you do like my videos, definitely go ahead and share the channel. But without further ado, let's talk about the Nitro Deck and is it a really good Joy-Con replacement? Now what Cracked is trying to do with the Nitro Deck is really nothing new. There are other devices out there that can replace your Joy-Cons, but what is different about the Nitro Deck is that what it does is it allows you to dock your Switch into the Nitro Deck and use it as a controller. Ergonomically speaking, it's very similar to the Steam Deck. I do like the bulkiness that it has. It makes it very easy to hold, but there are a few downsides about the Nitro Deck. Now, what Cracked is trying to do with the Nitro Deck is really nothing new. There are already a ton of different Joy-Con replacements out there, such as Hori and their devices, but there is something a little bit different with it. With the Nitro Deck, what you actually do is you go ahead and dock your Switch into it, and it actually has a really good secure fit. On the back of the Nitro Deck is a little latch that actually clicks in to the Nintendo Switch and keeps it pretty safe. And I do really like the feel of the Nitro Deck. Holding it in my hands, it feels very secure, very grippy, and it reminds me kind of the Steam Deck and how the Steam Deck feels, which in my opinion is really good and very comfortable for a handheld. I do understand what Nintendo was trying to do originally with the Nintendo Switch. They wanted a very small, thin form factor, and maybe they were trying to say, hey, you can put this in your pocket, but I don't believe they would fit in anyone's pockets unless you have really baggy jeans or some type of like carpenter pants that kind of allow you to fit like giant things inside your pockets. But for the most part, I don't use it. I don't put it in my pocket rather, but I carry it around with a carrying case. It's a lot easier to travel that way. I usually have a book bag with me and I just put it right in there. The cool thing about the Nitro Deck though is it does come with a carrying case depending on the model that you buy. I bought the retro purple Nitro Deck, which is basically a GameCube variant of the Nitro Deck controller, which is pretty cool. It does remind me a lot of the GameCube controller. I do like the color aesthetics of it. It's purple and you have the green button as well as the red button that the GameCube controller has, and the right thumbstick is the color of the C stick that the GameCube has. So it's a pretty cool design. I really liked it. There's another cooler design that's coming out, which is Persona 3 based. Limited Run is actually selling that. I think that's a pretty cool design as well. The case also comes with a nice strap, so you can carry it around just like that if you wanted to. Now me personally, I just feel that there's not enough things you can fit inside the case. I do have like one game case inside there, but if I want to carry the like 6 different game cases I have, because I have a bunch of Nintendo Switch games, they won't fit inside the Nitro Deck case. Objection! Alright, I did forget to mention one thing, and that is the accessories that come inside the case. They do come with some replaceable thumbsticks, which, I mean, I guess they're cool. They're basically the opposite of what the Switch Joy-Cons are. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of them. I didn't try them out or anything like that, but just feeling it just is not my style. But they are there if you do decide to use them, which is kind of cool, I guess. It also does come with a USB-C to A cable. And that cable is actually to be used to go ahead and connect your Nitro Deck to the Switch dock. Basically, you can use the Nitro Deck as a controller when in dock mode, which is, again, kind of cool, I guess, but something I will personally never use. And that's pretty much it. There's also a polishing cloth, so it's nice so you can clean your Switch display if you wanted to. And it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty high quality compared to some other cheap ones that I've messed around with. You know, as somebody who uses glasses, it's a big deal. But yeah, anyways, back to the video. But other than that, I do like the feel of it. It's very similar to the Steam Deck case. overall the aesthetics is very nice, and yeah, it's very, you know, it feels solid that if you drop it, it is going to protect the Nitro Deck. Now, design wise of the Nitro Deck, it pretty much has everything you need from a controller. You have your left thumbstick, your right thumbstick, your right face buttons, the D-pad, which the Joy-Cons doesn't have. You have a ZL, ZR, an L, and an R, but it does have some extra buttons. On the back of the Nitro Deck, you do have 4 extra buttons that you can kind of assign to any other button that you want. For example, you can have A on one of the back buttons and maybe, I don't know, the left D-pad on another one because you want to quickly, you know, switch weapons, or depending on the game you're playing, do something with that. That is pretty cool. There's also a program button on the back. What that allows you to do is A, you can go ahead and set those back buttons up, or B, you can actually do a turbo mode. The turbo mode just allows you to go ahead and quickly make a button just continuously press if you want it to happen. And I think that's pretty cool. Turbo mode is something that I feel that it's still useful depending on the game you're playing, but I do recommend the turbo mode. It's actually nice if you're playing Final Fantasy VIII, for example, because with Final Fantasy VIII, there is the GF boost, and of course, turbo makes it a lot easier to go ahead and tap on that square button, or in this case, you'll be tapping on the Y button. The interesting thing about the turbo mode is actually, it's not even in the instructions. At least the instructions they sent to me, it doesn't show up. The way I found out about that is Crack does have a YouTube channel, and they were talking about the features that the Nitro Deck has. And one of those features was, well, turbo mode, and it was something that I guess was requested by a lot of people, but they're not included in the instructions. So I'm not sure if they just didn't decide to reprint the instructions and add in the new features, or if they forgot, or maybe they just didn't want to go ahead and add it. I don't know, but you can find that out on their website, or find that YouTube channel, Crack's YouTube channel to be specific, and they will teach you how to use the turbo mode and the program button. It's kind of weird. I was watching some other videos and they were saying the same thing, that a lot of the ways you go about, for example, programming the buttons, it's not the same on how they're doing it now. They've changed out certain things of it, but the instruction manual that's in there seems to be an older instruction manual. Maybe they never updated it, or maybe somebody forgot to print out the new version. I don't know what's going on with that. It's kind of weird. Hey, post-production James here. One thing I did want to mention too is my Nitro Deck stand was actually kind of defective. I forgot to mention the stand altogether, but I do want to mention that it won't close. Like, I try to close it and it does not close whatsoever. I mean, I can like push it in and push it up, but yeah, that kind of sucks. So just let you guys know. The Nitro Deck does seem like a very good Joy-Con replacement, but there's some negatives, and actually the negative I think is pretty huge, and that is it's not that comfortable. I told you that holding it in place feels solid, it's very comfortable to hold, but when actually using it, it's not that comfortable. It has nothing to do with the face buttons. They're very nice. They feel very, very solid. I actually prefer the face buttons of the Nitro Deck over the Joy-Cons. The ZL and ZR are actually really good. Some people don't like it because they feel a little bit mushy versus the actual like digital buttons that like the Switch has. It doesn't bother me at all. It feels very solid. The L and R is very clicky. It's very nice. The D-pad is actually pretty good. It's not the best, not like an 8-bit Duke controller, but for the most part, it's really solid, and I did enjoy that. But it has to do with the placement of the right thumbstick and the D-pad. They're just very, very low, and I don't understand why. And it's not that it's a bad placement. I mean, well, I guess maybe it is a very bad placement, because when you look at the right thumbstick, it's pretty low. The gap between the face buttons and the right thumbstick is pretty huge. Compared to the Joy-Cons, there's a lot less space on the Joy-Cons versus the Nitro Deck. When you look at the Nitro Deck, it just, I don't know, it feels very bad. Like when I'm trying to go ahead and put my right thumb on that thumbstick, I really have to do some finger gymnastics to put my right thumb on there. And I have very small hands. Like, I don't have these giant hands that a lot of people have. My hands are pretty small. They're probably like a child's hands, honestly. But it's just very uncomfortable. And to me, that's a huge bummer. And it's a huge miss, because the Nitro Deck does so many things right. It does almost everything right except for that. And those are huge misses. Because of that, I'm sorry to say, but I'm not a fan of the Nitro Deck because of that. I think a key thing to a controller is definitely ergonomics, and ergonomics include the way you handle your buttons. The right thumbstick being that low just makes it very hard to recommend the Nitro Deck. Honestly speaking, I was loving it, enjoying it, and I've seen other reviews. I saw what they had to say. I was like, well, let me try it out. I do have smaller hands. Maybe it might fit better for me, but no, it just feels very uncomfortable. I was playing it for a couple hours, and after that couple hours my right thumb was hurting really bad. Now using the D-pad is not as bad because you can slide your hand down a little bit and hold it that way, but for the most part it's still kind of awkward because if you are using a game that uses both the left thumbstick and the D-pad, it's very hard to go from somewhere so high to go somewhere so low, and it's a weird missed opportunity. I was reading the website and seeing what they have on there, and they talk about it being one of the most comfortable feelings, and it's not very comfortable when you're actually using it. Holding it, yeah, when you're not putting your hands over any buttons or thumbstick, yeah, it feels very solid. Like I said, I like the feel of it. It feels good. I love the aesthetics of it. Everything about it just seems good, but for it to have that big miss, it's kind of a bummer. I was really hoping that this would be my everyday controller. I do want to mention though, this actually puts another thought in my head, and me not realizing it, but the Steam Deck on the other hand, your face buttons and your D-pad are right next to the thumbsticks, and at first when you saw it you're like, wow, this is a weird design, but now when I actually look at it, it's very comfortable. You can quickly switch your thumbs to your D-pad and your face buttons and thumbsticks and vice versa, and I think that's actually a really good thing. Whoever at Valve thought about that, bravo, because I think that's actually really neat, and as far as ergonomics go and being comfortable, it is very comfortable to use the Steam Deck that way. Now of course I know they can't copy the Steam Deck, it's probably patented, so they can't use that setup, but one thing that I would like for them to do is go ahead and in their next revision, the Nitro Deck 2 or whatever they might call it, just make that right thumbstick a little bit higher, maybe move it a little bit more to the left. There's a lot of empty space there that I feel can be used, and they can move over that thumbstick. And honestly, if they fix just this small issue, this will probably be the best controller out there. Honestly, it'll probably be the number one controller, number one recommendation for the Switch. But we all know that there is probably a Switch 2 on the way, so maybe they'll do that for that Switch. I guess we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Crack's Nitro Deck. Unfortunately, it's a big bummer that it's something that I personally can't recommend. I do want to point out there as well that if you do buy the Nitro Deck and you want to try it out for yourself, do know that you can't return it. All sales are final, so yeah, really think about it if you're going to buy the Nitro Deck. I found that out and I was like, because I'm not going to use it, I was like, I might as well return it, but we'll see what happens with it. Maybe I might grow to liking it a little bit more. If my opinion changes, I definitely will put a shout out on here, YouTube, maybe post something on X, I don't know, but we'll see what I do with the Crack Nitro Deck. Nitro Deck, or Crack rather, if you're listening to this, hopefully your next revision does put that thumbstick a little bit better placed, because honestly, you really have something special there. I really like the whole feel of the Nitro Deck. I'm just bummed out that that right thumbstick is in that place, and raise the D-pad a little bit higher will also help out as well. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like I said, I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers. I'm so close, so definitely every subscription helps out. Don't forget to also share the channel. If you do like what I do here on the channel, definitely share it. It does help me out as well. My name is James, and I'll catch you guys next time.